when we're using text, dimensions and leader lines, we first of all need to set these up. This is done by going onto the Annotate tab and then clicking on the arrow to gain access to the text styles for text, the dimensions on this one and leader lines on this one. So if we start off with text, we'll go to the arrow, we click on the arrow. This gives us access to the text style box. So if we think back to previous videos, annotative just means that if we start and scale our drawings, it's not going to affect the size of the text that we're using. For example, if we choose a text style of 6mm and then wish to use a half scale or a 1:2 scale, that would go down to 3mm, which starts to get difficult to read. But if we select the Annotatives tab as an option, then it would remain at the 6mm. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to add in here that I wish my text style to be 6. I'm going to apply, and I'm going to set that as current and close. So if we now go across, what we can see here is on my Annotate style, when I look at the text, it's already set to the annotative one. It's defaulted to 2.5, but if I now click on this arrow, I can now select 6 as my text style. I can click on multi-line text. So as I click here now to write my text, if I now type in here text, hello world, I have my text now set at 6mm. If we now have a look at the dimensions, again we'll go up to the little arrow. We're going to click on the arrow to get access to the Dimensional Style Manager. As before, we're going to stick with our annotative one because we don't want the dimensions to be affected by scale to make it difficult to read. So I'm going to highlight that, then I'm going to click on Modify so we can actually modify what it is that we have within here. As it goes through, defaults to the Primary Units tab, and you can see here the decimal separator at the moment is comma. We need to select period, which just means it'll be a decimal point. With it being an American piece of software, the period is known as the decimal point. So once we've set that, if we then go back to our text, so at the moment the text height is 2.5, so again I'm just going to set my text height to be 6. If we then go back to where the lines are, now in here this offset from the origin is how far the line is away. The dimension line is here, so here's my drawing, here's my text line, and it's that distance there. So just so as it's nice and clear, I'm going to up this and make this 2mm away from the, so we'll call that 2. Extending beyond the dim lines, which just stands for dimension lines, is this distance here. So again, let's make that perhaps go 1.5mm past. If we then click on OK, we're going to make that set current, click on close. So again, as we go now into our dimension style, if I now click on my annotative one, if I now wish to place a dimension, I can click on dimension and go down to there. I want to go across the centre up, and you can see I've now got 99.59mm in this particular scale. You can see that it's offset from here. If I zoom in here, you can see that that's the 2mm that I offset from my drawing. And if we zoom in here we can see that that's gone 2mm past, and my text is saying at 6mm high. If we now wish to look at the leader lines are in exactly the same sort of way. If we click on the leader lines, we're going to go to Annotative, we're going to Modify, and I want my text height. Again, I'm going to stick to 6 all the way through my drawings. We can change various properties here. I'm going to leave everything else to be defaulted. So I've got my 6mm there. I'm going to click on OK there. I'm going to set the annotative one to be the current one. So when I close now, you can see it's changed here. So if I click on my leader line, if I wanted to, then I could click on here, draw down, and as I start to write, I'm going to call that R30. I've now got my text size set for my leader lines. We've used a leader line to show we've got a radius here of 30 millimeters. If we go back to our other drawing and we wish to then show a chamfer, what I can do is to click on here, click on there, and as I start to type, in this case it was 5 by 10 degrees. To get the degrees sign, what we would do is to right click, go to symbol, and then I can choose the degree sign. When I click on enter, I can now put in that I've got a chamfer there of 5 by 10 degrees, and because I've already set my layouts, if I go back onto the layout page, this is my window onto the drawing. I can now see that chamfer has been added in at 5 by 10 degrees, and I can equally add in the same one at this point here.